In the book Elijah of Buxton, which takes place, this of course is Michigan. Michigan. All right, Detroit is here. About 40 miles from Detroit was a small community in Ontario called Buxton. We hear a lot about the Underground Railroad. Buxton is the place where many people who escaped on the Underground Railroad ended up and started a life. My story is narrated by 11-year-old Elijah of Buxton, and he's proud of the fact that he was the firstborn, freeborn child there. One of the things that people did was work together and helped each other with everything. In this little scene I'm going to read here, Elijah and his friend, Mr. Leroy, are clearing land for a woman who has lost her husband. So Elijah has a tendency to run his mouth. So he's talking a mile a minute. Mr. Leroy doesn't want to hear it. I told him, so Mr. Travis has Cooter's ear wound up so tight that it's starting to look like somebody's finger instead of somebody's ear. It's about the most awful thing you've ever seen in your whole days. Then I said them. I said those words that made it so the lesson about familiarity and contempt will be fixed in my mind for as long as I live, even if it's to be 50. I said, then me and all them other little nig, I knowed better. Ma and Pa don't tolerate no one saying that word around them. They say it's a sign of hatred when a white person says it, and a sign of bad upbringing and ignorance when one of our own calls it out. So there ain't no good excuses. I knowed better. I didn't think Mr. Leroy was paying me no mind. I didn't even get the chance to get the whole word out. I never even saw it coming. It felt like whatever rope it was that was holding up the moon gave out all of a sudden, and the moon slipped free and busted through the clouds and come crashing to earth right before it exploded on me. All I saw at first was a bright light, which I figured was Mr. Leroy backhanding me across my mouth. Then I felt my senses flying away, which must have been me falling toward the ground. Then I felt like I'd been chunked by the moon, which would have been me knocking my head against the ground. I don't think I was out for more than a minute or two, but when I come to, I wished I'd been out for a whole lot longer, because Mr. Leroy was standing over top of me with his hand drawn back, fixing to crack me all over again. He made up for all the not talking he'd ever done whilst we talked. Now he commenced jawing at me a mile a minute. He shouted, "Is you out of your mind?" I was about to say, "No, sir," but I figured that was one of them questions people ask just for the sake of asking it. They don't really want no answer. I probably couldn't have said nothing no way. My tongue was too busy roaming around my mouth, checking to see if any of my teeth had got settled loose. He said, "What you think they called me whilst they was doing this?" He opened the front of his shirt and showed me where a big square with a letter T in the middle of it was branded into him. The sky was raised up and shining. It was real plain to see, even if there weren't no moonlight out at all. "What you think they call me?" Mr. Leroy was screaming like it was him what lost his mind. "What do you think they call my baby girl when they sold her? What kind of baby they call her from up on that block?" Mr. Leroy was spitting and looking mad as a hatter. I sure was glad he'd gone and dropped his axe when he first busted me across the mouth. I said, "Mr. Leroy, sir, I'm sorry. What name do you think they call my wife when they take her to another man for his own? What name?" "I'm sorry, sir, I'm sorry. How you gonna call them children at school and yourself that name the white folks down home calls us? Has you lost your natural mind? You wants to be like one of them? You wants to be keeping that hate alive?" I saw Mr. Leroy really was out of his mind. He must have thought I was a white person that said that word. I begged him, "Mr. Leroy, sir, please, I ain't white. Please don't hit me again." He raised his left hand and I closed my eyes and tried to mash myself down to the dirt. He said, "White person? You think this here's about some white person? Look at this, look." I opened my eyes and saw he weren't gonna slap me again. He was showing me where his littlest finger on his left hand used to be. He was pointing at it, all that there was left, a little stump. He said, "Who do you think it was that cut my finger off? Who?" I didn't know if I should answer him or just keep quiet and let him have his say. I shrugged my shoulders. He said, "A slave, that's who." And the whole time he was slashing and stabbing at me, trying to cut my throat. "What name do you think he called me? What name?" I said, "I know, sir, but I ain't gonna say it no more." He said, "Just because you think you's black, that word comes out from twixt your lips, it means something different? You think it ain't choked up with the same kind of hate and disrespect it has when they say it? You can't see it even be worse when you say it?" I told him, "Sir, I only said it because I hear lots of children saying it." He said, "What difference it make who you heard saying it? I can understand a little if one of y'all freeborn use it. Y'all's ignorant in a whole slew of ways. Y'all ain't been told your whole life that's what you is. But someone was a slave, or someone whose mom and pa was a slave and raised them good, like yourn done, that just shows you believe in what they say. That just shows you done swallowed their poison and you swallowed it whole. There weren't going to be no more hitting. I could tell Mr. Leroy was calming himself down. He commenced rubbing his left arm, then reached his hand down to help me up. Once I got up, I quick wiped away the tears that were beginning to get in my eyes. It ain't being fragile, but don't nothing in the world make you want to bawl more than a good backhand slap when you ain't expecting it. Mr. Leroy said, now belting you like that probably weren't the right thing to do, Elijah, but I ain't sorry I done it. If my boy was to call someone out their name like that, I pray to God someone would bust him too. Y'all young folks got to understand that's a name that ain't never called with nothing but hate. That ain't nothing but a word them slavers done chained on us. And if God is just like I know he is, one day it's going to be buried right along with the last of them. That ain't one of the things we need to be toting with us into Canada. Now, if you and me's going to do some more working together, you know what you got to say. I did. I told him, I'm sorry, Mr. Leroy. I ain't never going to say that word again. He said, you always got to keep in mind, Elijah, that I'm growed and you ain't. You got to always remember that we gets along just fine, but I ain't your friend. I cares about you like my own boy, but you always got to give me my respect. You saying that word ain't showing no respect for me. It ain't showing no respect for your folks. It ain't showing no respect for yourself. It ain't showing no respect for no one was had that word spit on them whilst they getting beat like an animal. Mr. Leroy told the truth, and I told him the truth when I said I weren't going to hold no grudges and I weren't going to use that word again. He said, good, son, because I really want you to know what I'm trying to say, and sometimes I ain't too good with my words. Mr. Leroy picked up his axe and swung it across his left shoulder, then put his right hand in my head. I'll always remember Mr. Leroy's hand in my head and the words he told me. I'll always remember that night when there weren't no moon and me and Mr. Leroy walked home together. In conclusion, what do we get when we compare April 4th, 1968 with January 18th, 2010? We get a mixed record, but overall not something which we can be particularly proud of. We have to fight the complacency. Some of us have made it, but most of us haven't. And we have to rectify this problem before it becomes strictly one of class, which it will become, with the haves against the have-nots. That is a battle no one will win. That is one of the things Dr. King fought so heroically against. Now, I know the word hero is tossed around rather loosely today, but I have a different concept of what a hero is. While I admire and am most grateful for what firefighters and the military and the police do, I have a difficult time counting their actions as heroic. They're paid to do what they do. It's their job. They may act with great courage, but there's something in their actions that doesn't rise to the level of being heroic. In my eyes, a hero is someone else. It's someone who takes a stand regardless of the outcome. Martin Luther King is a hero. Malcolm X is a hero. Charles Tyler from Flint, who went down into Mississippi, is a hero. Individuals who supported the civil rights movement took great risks to force America to change. It was a people's movement inspired by ordinary citizens, people like Rosa Parks, the seamstress from Montgomery, Alabama. Many, many heroic people died in the struggle for civil rights. Many others were injured or arrested or lost their homes or businesses. It is almost impossible to imagine the courage of the first African American children who walked into segregated schools, or the strength of the parents who permitted them to face the hatred and violence that awaited them. They did it in the name of the movement in the quest for freedom. These people are the true American heroes. They are the boys and girls, the women and men who have seen that things are wrong and have not been afraid to ask, why can't we change this? They are the people who believe that as long as one person is being treated unfairly, we all are. These are our heroes, and they still walk among us today. One of them may be sitting next to you as you are standing in the next room making your dinner, or waiting for you to come outside and play. One of them may be you. We need to once again start listening to the heroes of our past and our present. Thank you very much for your sweetly feigned attention.